Once upon a time, in a kingdom not so far away, there was a very well-to-do witch who lived in a house with 12 rooms on the roof, and this witch had a broom. Now, you might be thinking that it was just an ordinary witch's broom for sweeping up dust and cobwebs, but it was nothing of the sort. It was a magic carpet kind of broom. This meant she could fly wherever she wanted to go, so off she'd sweep into the sky, singing as she went, sweeping, 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 over the mountains high, sweeping, sweeping, into the bright blue sky. One day when she was sweeping, she felt something brush against her broom. At first, she thought it was a bird or perhaps a bat. But then it happened again. And when she stopped to investigate, she saw a tiny little mouse looking rather frightened. "Don't be afraid," said the witch. "Get on my broom. We can fly away together." The mouse thanked her and climbed aboard. And they flew all the way to the land of plenty, where they sat on a nice soft cloud and ate cheese and bread and drank wine until their tummies were full. Then the mouse said, "I must go now. Thank you for saving me from that horrible cat. But please, oh, please, before I go, may I ask for a crumb of bread? I'm so very hungry." "Of course you may," said the witch. And she threw him a crust of bread which he caught deftly in his mouth. Then the mouse ran back to his hole in the cheese, and the witch continued sweeping. Not long afterwards, however, she felt something else brush against her broom. At first, she thought it was another bird or maybe a bat, but then it happened again. And when she stopped to investigate, she saw a very pretty kitten looking up at her with wide green eyes. "Don't be afraid," said the witch. "Get on my broom. We can fly away together." And so the kitten climbed aboard and they flew all the way to the land of plenty, where they sat on a nice soft cloud and ate fish and cream and drank milk until their tummies were full. Then the kitten said, "I must go now. Thank you for saving me from that horrible dog. But please, oh please, before I go, may I ask for a drink of milk? I'm so very thirsty." "Of course you may," said the witch, and she threw him a saucer of milk which he lapped up quickly. Then the kitten went back to his home among the cream, and the witch continued sweeping. Before long, though, she felt something brush against her broom yet again. At first, she thought it was another bird or maybe a bat, but then it happened again. And when she stopped to investigate, she saw a small brown dog looking up at her with big brown eyes. "Don't be afraid," said the witch. "Get on my broom. We can fly away together." And so the dog jumped aboard and they flew all the way to the land of plenty, where they sat on a nice soft cloud and ate sausages and bacon and drank ale until their tummies were full. Then the dog said, "I must go now. Thank you for saving me from that horrible bull. But please, oh, please, before I go, may I ask for a sausage? I'm so very hungry." "Of course you may," said the witch, and she threw him a sausage which he caught deftly in his mouth. Then the dog trotted back to his home among the sheep, and the witch continued sweeping. Next, as she swept over the mountains, she met a very large dragon whose mouth was full of sharp, pointy teeth. He opened his great scaly jaws and shouted, "Good day." Startled, the witch did the only thing she could think of. She threw her magic carpet broom down to the ground below. The dragon quickly scooped it up in his claws and raced away as fast as he could, flying over the hills and away out of sight. The witch landed safely on the ground and sighed with relief. Maybe she wouldn't get very wet after all. But then big fat raindrops began to fall from the sky. The witch hurried along the road, sheltering under a bush, as more and more rain fell. After a while, she came across a little house made of gingerbread, with candy floss curtains in the windows and lollipop flowers growing in the garden. Seeing no one about, she pushed open the door and stepped inside. Suddenly, she heard a voice that said, "Who's there?" Start. Turning round, she saw a tiny old woman holding a jammy dodger in one hand and a cup of tea in the other. "Oh, hello," said the witch. "I'm sorry to intrude, but the rain is coming down in torrents, and I have you and Tay a thing that Estrai to put on." "Nonsense, nonsense," said the little old woman. "Stay right here. You'll be warm and dry in no time." And with that, she bustled out of the room. The witch took off her sodden outer garments and wrapped herself up in a dressing gown made of marzipan. Then she sat down by the fire and ate some fudge. Soon, the little old woman came back and poured some hot tea into a cup. Then she added sugar and honey and stirred it all round with a stick. "Here you are," she said. "It's chamomile tea. It'll help you to relax." The witch sipped the tea and soon began to feel sleepy. Before she knew what was happening, she was fast asleep. Meanwhile, outside, the dragon was having great fun zooming up and down on the witch's magic carpet broom. He flew around the chimney pots, over the rooftops, and even managed to ride the wind. Then suddenly, bang, he hit a window, and it smashed. When the little old woman looked out, she saw the dragon and shouted, "Oh no, you won't." With a wave of her magic wand, she turned the dragon into a lizard and sent him scurrying away. Next, she went to the fireplace and stirred the chamomile tea until it began to bubble and fizz. Then she tipped the liquid into a bowl, sprinkled it with fairy dust, and left it to cool. When the witch woke up, she couldn't remember where she was. She looked around and saw that she was in a strange place. Just then, the little old woman entered the room. "Where am I?" asked the witch. "You're in my house," said the little old woman. "And if you look out the window, you'll see that your things have got wet in the rain. But don't worry, because I've got something that'll cheer you right up." And with that, she brought in the bowl of fizzy purple chamomile tea. The witch took a sip, and suddenly she felt much better. She thanked the little old woman for everything she'd done, and said that she must be going. As she reached for the door, the little old woman called out, "Wait a minute," and handed her a tiny acorn. "If you plant this acorn in the garden and water it with the fizzy purple chamomile tea, it will grow into a tree that will bear delicious fruit. And whenever you eat the fruit, you will feel happy and gay." The witch promised she would, and with that, she set off down the lane, leaving the little old woman and her house of gingerbread behind. As she walked, she came across the kitten, the dog, the mouse, and the dragon, all of them looking miserable. "Why are you all so unhappy?" she asked. They explained that the dragon had stolen her magic carpet broom, and without it, they couldn't fly. "Oh, don't worry," said the witch. "We'll soon have everything we need to fly again." With that, she took the acorn and planted it deep in the ground. Then she watered it with some fizzy purple chamomile tea. The four friends waited patiently while the acorn sprouted and grew. The next day, the witch went back to the tree and picked a juicy fruit from its branches. She ate the fruit and immediately felt very happy and gay. Then she made 4 more fruits into lollipops and gave them to the dragon, the kitten, the dog, and the mouse. The moment they tasted the fruit, they felt happy and gay too. Then they all climbed onto the magic carpet broom. The witch swept up into the sky, singing as she went, sweeping, 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 over the mountains high, sweeping, sweeping, into the bright blue sky. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe, so you never miss any of our future videos.